Okay, so today we are going to go over managing income and expenses in your TruckLogics account. Here I am. My name is Amber, and I am the product manager of TruckLogics. I just moved over from one of our other products called Express Truck Tax, and so I'm super excited to be on the TruckLogics team and excited to see where things go. All right, so a quick overview of today's webinar. Number one, we're going to talk about the importance of tracking income and expenses in your business. Secondly, I'm going to show you how to enter income and expenses in your TruckLogics account. And then we're going to have a brief Q&A. So just a little history about my involvement in the trucking industry. I started back in 2014, and I started on one of our products called Truck Services of North America. And I learned so much about the trucking industry and what it actually takes to start up a company, and how long that takes and how much money that takes. And so we would start at the state level, get all the permits, MC, DOT, IFTA, IRP, state permits, all the whole 9 yards. And then within 6 or 9 months, a lot of times we were shutting those companies down just because of the how taxing trucking is, and if you own your own business, how much you have to keep up with. So I just pulled a couple of quick statistics just to kind of show you how many businesses are going under because they're not keeping track of their business, their bottom line. So within the first 4 months of this year, over 31,000 trucking companies either completely shut down, or they had to shift their services to larger fleets due to the freight rates and the fuel costs. Around 85 to 90% of startup trucking companies fail. It's not always easy to run a company, but it's especially difficult in the competitive transportation industry that we have now. Tracking income and expenses is essential for trucking companies due to the high overhead costs associated with getting and keeping trucks on the road. 90% of new small trucking companies are unable to succeed due to common mistakes made by inexperienced business owners. So again, those are pretty scary statistics, but that doesn't have to be you. And that's why I love TruckLogics so much, is because TruckLogics was made with truckers in mind to help you manage your business, and managing income and expenses is a big part of that. So let's jump right into our webinar today. So let's show you how to enter income into your TruckLogics account. So instead of doing a live demo today, I've done a little bit different, and I'm going to take you through and show you screenshots that I've taken in our webinar account. So to enter an income transaction, you're going to go to accounts up at the top of your screen, up at the top of the tabs here, and go to income transactions. Next, a couple things on this page here. So the box around number 1, you can filter your different categories, and you can select a custom date. And then the box around number 2, that's what's going to show in that box. So if you say, I want everything from October 1st through today, that's what's going to show in box 2. So that gives you kind of an overview day by day or week by week, however you want to select that up there in number 1. That's going to give you a brief overview of the income that's coming in and how those payments are being made. And then if you want to add a new income transaction, you're going to click this add income button right up here. I have a number 3 next to it with a red box in it. When you click that box, you're going to be taken to this page here. So the first thing is that you're going to select an income category. Now, your TruckLogics account will already have categories preloaded based on, just normal trucking industry stuff. However, if one of these categories do not suit the category that you want, you can click add here. And when you click add, it's going to look like this. And so you can add your own category. You can name it whatever you want here in this box here. You can add a description, and then you can also select the tax category. And so when you click this drop down arrow here, it's going to drop down these choices right here. And the reason that this is important is because on your year-end tax report, that's where you're going to see this. So that's, at the end of the year, when you're pulling your reports for your tax purposes and you want to make sure everything is in its place and put where it's supposed to be, it goes all the way back to entering these expenses and these income transactions like they're supposed to be. So once you save your new category, then you're going to go back to adding your income expense. So again, you're going to select the box here. You're going to select your category. You're going to select the date of the income. And then you're going to put in the amount of however much that income was. Now, again, all of these other fields, they're not required. However, just like with the rest of TruckLogics, the more that you enter, the more detailed your reports are going to be and the more detailed your business is going to be. So we always encourage you to enter as much as you possibly can. So you would fill out this information here and then click save. That's it. So that's how you enter an income transaction. And so again, however you have your business set up, if you're doing that daily, if you're doing that weekly, you can go back into your account and you can enter in those income transactions. Now, entering and expense is pretty much the same way, but there are some variations. So when you're talking about entering an expense, you're going to go up to accounts and you're going to choose expense transactions. Same thing here. So in box number 1, you can choose how you want to sort box number 2, and you can filter it down a little bit more here by if you have several trucks entered here, if you have drivers. So you can filter it out a little bit more here in the expense section, but whatever you select up here in number 1 is what's going to show down here in number 2. So again, that just gives you kind of a quick overview if you're trying to get a quick overview of your expenses. Now, number 3 and 4. So number 3 is if you want to add an expense manually. And we'll come back to that in just a second. Number 4 says import. When you click import, it's going to take you to a screen that says import from PFS. So if you have that account, you can link your account with TruckLogics, and then we can pull those expenses for you. And again, there are a lot of help videos, there are blogs, all of that great stuff about linking those accounts so that you don't have to sit here and manually enter that information. It pulls it automatically and it puts it into those expense categories for you. So if you want more information on the integrations that we have, you can either go to our YouTube page or you can go to our blog section and we have more information about that. Now back to number 3, if you want to add an expense. You'll see here that when you click add expense, 3 choices pop down here. Add fuel expense, add other expense, and add a reoccurring expense. So number 1, we're going to go to add fuel expense. This is important because if you want this expense to be included in your IFTA report, you must choose add fuel expense. If you choose add other expense and just choose the category as fuel, it is not included in your IFTA report. So if it is IFTA related, choose add fuel expense. So again, I've selected here all of the required information, the unit, the fuel type, what date, who, how much, and then the state, so that we can properly add it to your IFTA report. So those are the, again, required pieces of information when you're adding a fuel expense. When you're adding other expense, just like when we were talking about income, you're going to, number 1, you're going to select your category. These are all pre-entered into your TruckLogics account. However, again, if there's another category that you want to add there, maybe it's, lodging, Airbnb, food, whatever, you can click add and it's going to be the same thing. You can add the account name, add a description, and then choose which tax category you want it to appear on in that year-end tax report. And then you'll see here active reimbursement. So again, if this box is checked, that means you're going to be reimbursing it to that driver. So if you don't want it to automatically count towards that, you would want to uncheck this, okay? So back on other expense, again, you're going to choose the expense date, how it was paid, who, the amount, and then again, you're going to choose what category, what expense category it's going to appear in. Again, just make sure that if it's a fuel expense, you're putting it in as a fuel expense, not other expense here. And then a reoccurring expense. So again, if this is something you can, obviously you'll enter the reoccurring expense name, but then you'll see here that you can choose the frequency of it. So if it is something like tires or maintenance or oil changes, or you have a reoccurring expense of any kind, it doesn't have to be what I just named, you can select this to automatically make that a reoccurring expense for yourself so that you don't have to go in there and manually do it every time. So again, the required information is here, and then you would just click save. Now, with the expenses, you can attach them to a specific dispatch. So in that case, what you would do, and again, this is just being a little bit more detailed, if the expense is tied to a specific dispatch and you want it to be tied, you would go up to dispatches, and then you're going to choose the dispatch number that it is associated with. And the first page you come to is the summary page, and you'll see down a little bit there's an expense box, and it just gives a breakdown of expenses that are already associated with this dispatch, but you can add a fuel up. So again, this would be included in your IFTA report here. You can add an other expense, and then when you click go to expense list, it takes you to the expenses tab on the same dispatch here. And so you can see the list of expenses associated with this dispatch already, but then over here on the right side, you can add a fuel expense or you can add an other expense. These are exactly the same as we've gone through previously just a couple seconds ago. We just have multiple places where you can go and add expenses in your TruckLogics account. Now, a couple times I mentioned reporting, and towards the end of the year when you're pulling information for your taxes, the profit and loss report. Now, this report is good to just have a handle on all the time. Again, those statistics that I read in the beginning, most of the time, if you have a good handle on your business and you can tell what is the overhead cost and what am I paying out versus what am I pulling in, that's key to making it in the trucking industry. So looking at the profit and loss report, again, when you pull this report, you can pull it and choose the period, and you can change that. It can be custom, and you can say, hey, I just want it for the last week. I want it for the last day. So you can customize this here and then click generate report, and it's going to show you a breakdown of all of those categories. So back when you were entering your income, this is why choosing that category is important, is because it's going to come here and it's going to show you all of the transactions that were entered for this date period. So you can see here, this is obviously the income, this is the breakdown and the total here at the bottom. And then if you scroll down, obviously I had to make it a next slide, but when you scroll down, you can see your expenses. And again, it shows you all of those categories that you've entered into your account and then the total of those expenses. So that's the profit and loss report. The year-end tax report is not as customizable. However, it gives you an overview. So for the 2023 tax year, part one is income. And so when you click these down arrows, anything that's in a category under this section is going to break down under this arrow. So when you click the down arrow, all the costs of goods sold will be under this arrow. This is just a kind of a minimized version of that. Same thing with expenses. So it's kind of a accordion, everything's folded up in here. And then when you click each of these boxes, you'll be able to see the breakdown of the information that's in there. So that is a brief overview of the income and expense section in your TruckLogics account. Now, I am going to have a quick question and answer time. And if you do have any questions, I would be happy to answer those. Now, pause. I am newer to the TruckLogics team. So if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to just blab your ear off and be like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to find the right answer for you, and I'm going to give it to you. I'll send you an email, all that good stuff. And just so that you know, We have lots of resources. So if you're new to TruckLogics, if you're not new to TruckLogics, we have so many resources for you. We have a YouTube channel that we upload all of these webinars. So if you have a quick question about how do I enter an expense, go look at our YouTube channel and you can search that and pull up the quick webinar. We have a blog section where we do How To Tuesday, and it literally takes screenshots and it walks you through how to do all of these things. Because we know that time is important to you. And so we want to give you the resources to start your journey with TruckLogics. And then what we hear day after day after day is that, oh my gosh, once I learn TruckLogics, it saves me so much time. And so that's where we want you to get. That's our goal with all of our clients, is that you get to the point where you are a whiz with TruckLogics and you can do all of this in your sleep, not while you're driving. Okay. Glad we got that cleared up. Okay, so any questions? I did, I had some questions before prepared, and I thought about maybe I could go back and answer those really quick. So somebody said, well, how would you edit or delete a transaction? And so I was like, oh, that's a good question. So I'm going to quickly go back to my page here, and I'm going to show you how you would do that. I paused my screen while I'm over here doing all this stuff. Okay, so now somebody said, well, how would I edit an income transaction? So back on when you go to your accounts at the top of your page and then you go to income, back on this chart, on this first screen here, under the column action, you have the options to either edit. So you can see this little pen and paper right here. So you can edit a income transaction, or you can delete an income transaction. So there are ways for you to do that. The same thing. So now the only other thing that I will say with that is that if you cannot edit or delete that, if it's giving you like an error message, it's probably that invoice is probably tied to a settlement, and then you would need to go and you would need to void that whole thing out. Now again, we have more information about that. We have blogs, we have videos about helping you through when an income or an invoice is attached to a settlement. So, maybe that could be the issue, but you can, as long as it's not attached to a settlement, you can edit or delete an income transaction that you've entered here. So that was one of the questions that we had. So, that might be helpful to you. All right, I'm going to pause my screen really quick, and then we're going to get back on the road because I know that you guys are busy and I don't want to hold too much of your time. So before you go, I want to let you know about TruckLogics Connect. And have you heard about TruckLogics Connect yet? And if you haven't, you need to. So TruckLogics Connect is a transportation industry forum. It's all virtual. On November 9th, we are bringing you some of the industry leaders in trucker taxes. She's at Ballin Consulting, so she does a lot of consulting. A lot of businesses, organization, things like that. And then we have EFS here. So going to be talking about the importance of using fuel cards if you're not using a fuel card, and all of the benefits that you and your business can benefit from using a fuel card. So TruckLogics Connect is November 9th. You can go to trucklogics.com/connect to register. It's free. You can register for all of the breakouts. You can register for one of the breakouts. It's up to you. But it's going to be a day packed, November 9th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, breakouts all during the day, just talking about the trucking industry and giving you guys good knowledge for you and your business. So that's on November 9th. So if you haven't registered, go do that now. Now, our next webinar in the accounting series is next Thursday. So again, gonna dive deeper. I know I briefly touched on the report section. Next week, William, I know the favorite, William and Christy, those two, but they are, William is going to be doing the webinar next Thursday at 4 p.m. and he's going to go deeper into the reporting section of TruckLogics and how entering in your income and expenses, how it looks over on your reports. And he's really great with tips and tricks and all that good stuff too. Just a brief overview. We've already talked about the chart of accounts, how to add reoccurring transactions. Today we talked about managing income and expenses. And then again, next week, we're talking about those reports in TruckLogics. So join us next week. Even if you don't make it, we always send a copy of that webinar. Now, if you haven't already, I don't know what you're waiting on. If you have not already started your 15-day free trial, go today, go now, not even today, just go now, trucklogics.com, register up in the top corner, 15 days free. You get access to the entire system. We don't hide anything. You can enter in your information, play around in the system. We do free demos. We give wonderful training. So go start your 15-day free trial if you have not already. All right. And then if you do have any questions, we have an amazing team. We have a wonderful business development team, James and Mark and Summer. And then we have a wonderful support team with Christy and William and Tommy. And so if you have any questions or anything like that, we would love to help you. You can email us, support@trucklogics.com, or give us a call, 704-234-6946. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this was helpful for you. I can't wait to come back and do it again. Thank you.